Today we have more PlayStation news and topics to discuss about, as Sony files 3 patents that could be a turning point in the gaming world. The first one is the most important, as a new patent points to a way in which Sony might try to make its next-generation VR system for the PS5 more immersive and engaging via controllers. A newly discovered patent suggests that Sony may have an exciting trick up its sleeve for its next-generation PlayStation 5 VR system. The addition could mean a huge quality-of-life improvement for almost any VR game. While the PlayStation VR has turned out to be a steady success for Sony, the system's reliance on PlayStation Move controllers allowed Sony to leverage pre-existing hardware, but the Move controllers simply weren't designed with VR in mind. It's no surprise, then, that Sony has already announced a revised controller as part of its plans for next-generation VR. The patent features a new design for a controller that looks different from what has been publicly revealed for the PS5's VR system. Unlike that controller, this one features magnetic sensors that allow for finger tracking. This would allow players to make their hands into specific poses, which the game console could then recognize and reflect in-game. We have discussed about the finger tracking ability in one of our previous videos, as this would enable substantially more immersive controls in VR games, as button presses could be replaced with hand movements, making it much more natural to pick up and use items, for example. It's worth noting that the patent also shows what appears to be an alternate, glove-based controller. This would use flex sensors to determine the individual articulation of each finger. This would probably be more advanced technology than the ring-shaped controller. While gloves like this do exist for commercial use, they are normally employed for enterprise VR training programs and professional motion capture, rather than oriented towards consumers. An exception is the Kickstarter-funded and consumer-oriented Captoglove. Although the company behind Captoglove appears to be on hiatus, Kickstarter backers could obtain one glove for about $200 during the campaign. This finger tracking functionality would help the second-generation PSVR be competitive against higher-end VR headsets. In particular, finger tracking would allow Sony to position its technology against the Valve Index, which offers similar functionality in its controllers. This might mean that Sony would use the already revealed PSVR2 controller as an entry-level peripheral, and then offer the more elaborate controller and glove shown in the patent for hardcore VR enthusiasts. Whether or not these peripherals do become part of the PSVR ecosystem, Sony has already set up the foundation for a successful generation of VR gaming. In addition to well-received exclusive VR games like Astro Bot Rescue Mission and Iron Man VR, Sony has found ways to integrate VR into major first-party projects like Game Creator Dreams. Given Sony has demonstrated that VR systems can be commercially viable as add-ons to popular consoles, it's likely Sony will continue investing in the technology and pleasing VR fans. If that's set to happen, TI would be huge for PlayStation fans and VR fans, both alike, and innovations like these would certainly should be appreciated, and we will have to wait and see if the final output comes to fruition. The second of the 3 patents is a new patent filed by Sony could lead to video games across the industry becoming much more accessible for players with disabilities. The games industry has been improving accessibility greatly in recent years, with titles like Sony's The Last of Us 2 showing some of the innovative ways developers are making sure more people can play games than ever before. Now, a new patent filed by Sony could show that the company is far from finished working to make its games more accessible. With video games innately being a medium anchored in video and audio, as well as requiring mechanical inputs from the player, many different disabilities can prevent or inhibit gamers from being able to enjoy many different games. While many games like the aforementioned The Last of Us 2 implement creative solutions to allow all players to experience the game, there is still a lot of work that can be done in the industry to make accessibility more common. Sony's new patent looks to continue the company's innovation streak and increase accessibility using a new AI feature. The patent's goal is to mitigate the high financial and time costs of adding accessibility features into video games, so that more studios can afford to include those features. The patent explains that accessibility features that are common in other media, like subtitles or descriptive audio, are more difficult to implement in video games as a consequence of player influence. With gameplay scenarios playing differently depending on a player's actions and decisions, it can be extremely costly to add some of these features in, as they have to account for so many different factors. Utilizing AI, like Sony's patent suggests, would help resolve this issue, as it would be better suited to reactively fill in the gaps for players playing with disabilities. Features such as descriptive audio, generating subtitles, or even applying different filters to adjust the color profile of scenes for colorblind players would be just some of the AI's possible applications. Interestingly, the patent also gives some detail on the possibility of utilizing the AI to add missing accessibility features into titles that have already launched without them, similar to how next-generation Xbox consoles can increase the performance of older titles. While many patents are filed without ever seeing consequently hardware or software releases, this one filed by Sony would be a great one to see come to fruition. Allowing more players to play games is always a positive for the industry, and the patent's ability to even make older games more accessible would be huge for allowing players with disabilities to be able to visit more classic games that they might not have been able to before. The third one is about a different thing in gaming that could forever change how remote viewers watch live-streamed content like professional esports events for the better. Esports have exploded in popularity in recent years with games like Overwatch, League of Legends, and Rainbow Six Siege raising the bar for organized professional play. A new patent filed by Sony, however, gives Sony the potential to change the playing field of esports. Most esports programs stream events on Twitch or, like the Overwatch League, stream on YouTube Gaming. The streams typically function with live editors cutting between different player perspectives with broadcasters talking over the gameplay. The system works well and allows the broadcasters to show multiple perspectives to make the narrative of the matches clear to the audience, and allows them to use replays to specifically highlight exciting moments and plays that the live feed may have missed. However, Sony could be looking to change the professional gaming scene. The new patent takes notice of the recent growth of esports events, and looks to enhance the experience for viewers who are unable to attend live events in person. The patent points out that viewers watching an esport for the first time may find the perspective being shown too boring, and may leave before they see something that catches their attention. The solution Sony presents in the patent is to provide viewers with the ability to control what viewpoint they are seeing using various commands. The ability for viewers to control what perspective they see could stand to greatly enhance the remote viewing experience. Not only would it allow viewers to focus on the team or a player that they have a preference for, but it also would allow viewers to focus on a particular role being played in the match that they are more interested in. This could encourage viewers with no interest in the playing teams still watching certain roles like World of Warcraft's healers or tanks to try and learn how to improve their own gameplay from watching professionals. While many patents never lead to any actual hardware or software releases, Sony's patent does have a lot of potential if the company does pursue it. A system allowing viewers to switch between perspectives could have a large impact on viewership for live events like esports matches as they continue to grow and be more popular as competitive-focused games like Valorant or League of Legends continue to grow their professional play scenes. With esports matches even being a medal event in next year's Asian Games, the sport is clearly growing, and a system like Sony's could help expand its reach even wider. These three new patents allow gamers more flexibility and accessibility for handling the game, potential to play games, and the choice to make.
Yeah. You good? Yeah.
Moving forward, we have two latest Days Gone news, as the conversation around Days Gone 2 has evolved rapidly this week, with a report breaking that Sony's Bend studio pitched Days Gone 2, though the pitch was ultimately rejected because of the first game's long development cycle and lackluster review scores. Of course, much like PlayStation's other exclusive games, Days Gone has earned a significant fan base, and those fans are now petitioning for the series to return. Right now, a Change.org petition is gaining steam, garnering nearly 42,000 signatures since it went live. The petition is asking Sony to approve Days Gone 2, guaranteeing a sequel to the first game. Started by Kanhai Raval, the petition's description states that there are millions of people who would want Days Gone 2 to come to fruition. It goes on to say that Sony can't just pull the plug on such an amazing game that ended with a cliffhanger. It goes on to say that Sony can't just pull the plug on such an amazing game that ended with a cliffhanger. The petition caught the attention of Jeff Ross, Days Gone's game director. In a tweet, Ross expressed amazement that the petition is on track to become one of the top petitions on change.org. He went on to ask fans of the game to sign the petition, hoping to push it over the 42,000 signature mark. The Days Gone development team has been mostly quiet on the situation, this being an exception. Even with the change.org petition gaining steam, it isn't clear if it will matter all that much where Sony is concerned. While it is admirable to see so many fans put their support behind the game, greenlighting a multi-million-dollar project based on a fan petition seems unlikely. Internet movements have worked in the past, though, with the recent release of the Snyder Cut being a prime example of what fans can get made. According to the Bloomberg report that broke the Days Gone 2 news, Sony is in the middle of something of a culture shift. Rather than allow the creation of experimental titles, Sony has a newfound emphasis on creating blockbuster hits, many stemming from its existing franchises. For instance, the report detailed that a Last of Us remake is currently in the works, which has been met with a mixed reception from fans. In this situation, another director of Days Gone, John Garvin, speaks to his opinion that Sony places too high an emphasis on Metacritic scores, ignoring the whole picture. In a streamed interview, John Garvin, the game director for Days Gone, has described what he sees as an issue of games being developed based on Metacritic scores. This comes on the heels of reports stating that Days Gone was denied permission for the development of a sequel. Garvin details what he believes is that perception can be more important than actual sales of a game, and goes on to use Disney as a comparison. If you are Disney, you can't afford to make an adult movie even if a bunch of people go to see it, Garvin says when asked if he believes the Metacritic score is more important than overall sales. Days Gone, an open-world zombie survival game, was released in April 2019 to mixed reviews. Among critics, it earned an average rating of 71 for 100, while earning an 8.3 for 10 from players. This led to Sony reportedly denying the go-ahead to develop a sequel, even with some successful player numbers and sales on the PlayStation Network. Garvin makes sure to distance his opinion from the executives, qualifying his comments with the statement, "This is just my opinion. I haven't asked those guys." With Days Gone coming to the PC in May 2021, sales for the game look to only grow over time, bringing Garvin's statement back into the limelight. It's hard to dispute Garvin's words. Garvin does own the fact that the team didn't do the things to make the game better at the end of the day, but also makes mention of political correctness, which makes for a bizarre commentary. The main critique, as mentioned on Metacritic, is that it's too repetitive and drags on for too long. In this instance, Garvin appears to both take on the blame, but also shift it to a social justice warrior scapegoat. While it's unknown where Sony stands on the idea that Metacritic determines everything for a game, Garvin seems to believe that this could be the main cause for the reluctance to greenlight a sequel. Whatever the case may be, the game will live on as one that players widely appreciated, while critics were everywhere on the spectrum. While Days Gone won't be seeing a sequel anytime soon, fans of the game should be excited that the soon-to-be-released PC port will only expand the audience. Garvin also said people not purchasing games at full price played a role in a Days Gone sequel getting killed. In fact, the former creative director, who eventually left Sony Bend Studios, was adamant about people not waiting around for a sale, or for games to be offered on PS Plus. "I do have an opinion on something that your audience may find of interest, and it might piss some of them off," Garvin said. "If you love a game, buy it at full price. I can't tell you how many times I've seen gamers say, 'Yeah, I got that on sale, I got it through PS Plus, whatever.'" While Garvin knew his comments weren't going to be loved by the general gaming public, Jaffe seemed to come to his followers' defense. He responded that people aren't going to know they love a game until they play it. The response seemed to be taken by Garvin as an explanation as to why people might not want to pay $60 or even $70 for a PS5 title they aren't sold on. The developer responded he understood that point of view, but also believed that people shouldn't complain if a game doesn't get a sequel if they aren't willing to pony up the cash. He then singled out another Sony first-party title for comparison's sake. He said that despite no longer being at Sony, he knows that God of War made a ton of money when it first launched. He added that he doesn't know the exact numbers, but is aware that Days Gone didn't do nearly as well. He also pointed out that while the news of his game coming to PS Plus was met with excitement, it didn't help get a sequel developed. As would be expected, Garvin's comments went viral on social media. Over 17,000 tweets including the Days Gone title have been shared over the past day. The vast majority of responses have to do with Garvin's insinuation that game players should buy games at full price, as well as his seeming contradiction that people should buy great games before they know if they're great. However, there are some posts that sympathize with what he's saying, particularly among fans of Days Gone who are frustrated that it won't have a sequel. Garvin himself would go on to respond to the viral conversation about his words. He'd clarify that what he was trying to say is that, if a game doesn't make money, it's probably not going to get a sequel. He also added that he wasn't talking about Days Gone, though the subject matter of his quotes does seem rather topical given his position as co-director of Days Gone and the past week's discussion of Days Gone 2's cancellation. Obviously, there are many factors that go into whether a game is successful or not at launch. Not to mention every publisher has different priorities when it comes to what is successful, and Sony is no different in that regard. While sales clearly influenced Days Gone's success, there were likely many other factors, including early review scores and frustrated early adopters due to technical issues. While Days Gone absolutely has its fans who are unhappy about the lack of a sequel, there's still an upside to look forward to. Ben's studio is still making games. It's likely hard at work on something new and exciting right now. Garvin, however, won't be a part of it as both of Days Gone's co-directors are no longer with the company. If Days Gone 2 does come to fruition, it will likely be some time before we get to see it. The team is reportedly working on a new game in an unannounced franchise. Work on that could be scrapped to make room for Days Gone 2, but it's hard to say. If we really want to see the sequel get made though, the petition is a good way to start. I hope Sony will confirm these uncertainties and confusions in between their studios, and give a clear-cut answer on the current plan and the vision for the future. In some time from now, all we can do is what we can do and wait.
Come on! Come on!
Moving forward, we have a Square Enix acquisition rumor, as reports suggest that multiple parties are interested in an acquisition of Square Enix. Acquisitions have become more and more prevalent among game companies in recent years, to a degree that is somewhat concerning. Consolidation of talent may be a good thing from certain points of view, but from a consumer perspective, it can often lead to less creative voices being spotlighted in an industry that is already fairly monolithic. Either way, another massive buyout is rumored to be in the very early stages. Bloomberg Japan is reporting that Square Enix could possibly be acquired sometime in the near future, with several different companies eyeing the studio for a buyout. For those who might not know, Square Enix is the Japanese game company behind the likes of Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, and Kingdom Hearts. It also has several acclaimed Western studios as well, including Crystal Dynamics, who created the recent Tomb Raider games and the financially unsuccessful Marvel's Avengers. Obviously, this should be taken with a grain of salt, as rumors of acquisitions are rarely guaranteed to come to pass. Earlier this year, rumors of Microsoft buying Discord were all over the place, only to fizzle out as nothing actually came from them. On the other hand, the recent failures of Marvel's Avengers and Balan Wonderworld could have sent Square into dire financial straits that could only be solved by a buyout. Until concrete news on the matter surfaces, there isn't any way of knowing for sure. There are several parties who would reasonably interested in this type of purchase. Microsoft, which recently purchased Bethesda, certainly has the budget to do another acquisition, especially one that would give it more of an in on the Japanese market. Sony already works with Square Enix extensively on exclusive titles such as Final Fantasy VII Remake and Final Fantasy XVI, so them working together again would be natural. Tencent and Epic Games are two other very possible candidates with money to spare. That said, no party buying Square Enix would be an especially great thing except for Sony. While a few past acquisitions have had positive ramifications, with Nintendo's purchase of Monolith Soft being one example, these situations usually have more drawbacks than they do positives. Microsoft purchasing the company would mean that most upcoming Square projects would need to migrate to Xbox. Sony purchasing the company would likely be an advantage for the Final Fantasy franchise, as any chances of legacy releases from the company, with PlayStation's approach focusing on newer games exclusively. Despite Square Enix's protest of the news, the company's stock still rose 12%. The price jump is the largest the stock has received in the past 8 months and sees the company trading near the all-time high that was set last year. This means that Square Enix currently has a market value of 845 billion yen, or $7.8 billion. Despite the company's dissuasion of the rumors, the possibility of the company being acquired does make sense. The company boasts some extremely strong and recognizable IPs in the games industry, including Final Fantasy, Tomb Raider, Dragon Quest, and Deus Ex, all of which would make the company very attractive to high-level buyers like Microsoft or Sony. Xbox has been particularly aggressive in bolstering its portfolio of developers, and has also been vocal about wanting to expand into the Japanese market more, both of which would make Square Enix a valuable target for the company. The purchase would also make sense from Sony's side, as the high-quality AAA titles that Square Enix is known for would fit nicely in the stable of PlayStation's exclusives. As much sense as Square Enix's acquisition would make, it is most likely better for gamers that the company stay independent. A purchase from Microsoft or Sony would lead to the studio's future titles likely being made exclusive to the platform owned by their buyer as leverage. While Square Enix's acquisition is not completely off the table, it seems unlikely that the company would make the sale anytime soon, especially with heavy-hitting titles like Final Fantasy XVI just over the horizon. Overall, nothing about this rumor is concrete enough to judge just yet, so one can hope that Square Enix is able to find success independently to prevent any future problems. But if Sony want to make their move, they could buy Square Enix in competition with Microsoft, as they bought ZeniMax Media, which could rise up the heat on the exclusivity debate on the console wars. And as a final discussion topic, we have another Metal Gear Solid situation, as the Metal Gear Solid Twitter teases continue, suggesting that an announcement related to the franchise could be happening soon. The Metal Gear franchise has been dormant since Metal Gear Survive, which earned mostly negative reviews and wasn't well received by fans. Metal Gear publisher Konami has seemingly lost interest in publishing traditional video games for the most part, but fans are still holding out hope that the series will make a comeback one day. And in fact, some recent happenings on social media suggest that Metal Gear fans may have an announcement to look forward to sooner rather than later. A Twitter account named Tom Olsen recently appeared, claiming to be a maintenance technician at the Big Shell. Olsen has remained in character on the Twitter account, making all kinds of tweets referencing Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty, which was the game that featured the Big Shell. While this could have been written off as a fan role-playing or something, the official Metal Gear Twitter account interacted with Tom Olsen, fueling the rumors that this has something to do with a genuine announcement, which we have discussed in a previous video. The official Metal Gear Twitter account responded to one of Tom Olsen's tweets and said that the Big Shell would have visitors next week. This has led some fans to believe that a Metal Gear announcement of some kind will be taking place next week. What that announcement could be is anyone's guess, but it seems safe to say that if it's real and not just fan theories running wild, it must be related to Metal Gear Solid 2. Tom Olsen's tweets have continued since the interaction with the official Metal Gear Twitter account. One of the most recent tweets says, "Management must be preparing for something big soon." Another tweet addresses the Metal Gear Solid rumors that have been drummed up by these Twitter accounts, with Olsen saying that he is not employed by Konami Digital Entertainment, but would love to send them his resume. One of the prevailing theories is that it is all part of an elaborate tease for a Metal Gear Solid collection announcement. There have been rumors that Konami plans on bringing the Metal Gear Solid games to modern consoles through a collection, not unlike the Metal Gear Solid HD collection that released last generation. This would allow Konami to get some more mileage out of the Metal Gear brand without running the risk of upsetting fans by making a new game in the series without the involvement of creator Hideo Kojima. A less likely scenario is that this is a tease for the rumored Metal Gear Solid PS5 remake that some think is in development at Bluepoint Games. Whatever the case may be, we should find out next week if there's anything to this bizarre Tom Olsen Twitter account and if it actually has anything to do with the Metal Gear Solid series. And that's all for the video, guys. Like and share the video for a bigger audience. Comment your thoughts on the discussed topics, and if you want to contribute to the channel by means of donation, the link to my PayPal is in my description. You can send me donations which will help me to make more contents consistently and new things such as gameplay, podcasts and live streaming. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon, and until then from SMPV it's goodbye.